Let's get into this. Legendary. That's what we are. We're legendary. Legendary. All right. This is Gibson Les Paul, take one. Hey there, sound rebels and history junkies. Welcome back to Soundwaves Unplugged, where we dig into the wild backstories of the gear that rock your world. I'm Aaron Ross, and today we're diving into one of the most iconic instruments ever created, the Gibson Les Paul. It isn't just a guitar, it's a revolutionary beast that reshaped how music was recorded, played, and felt. So grab your air guitars, fire up those amp simulations, and let's crank up that volume on the incredible history of the Les Paul. Let's rewind to the early 1950s, a time when electric guitars were still finding their voice. In a modest workshop where innovation was the order of the day, a visionary named Les Paul was born. Lester William Paulsfuss was already dreaming up ideas that would forever change the musical landscape. Now, Les wasn't just a guitarist. He was an innovator, a recording pioneer who was obsessed with pushing the boundaries. Around 1952, in a groundbreaking collaboration with Gibson, Les set out to build a guitar that was as comfortable to play as it was sonically explosive. The results? The first ever Gibson Les Paul, often nicknamed the Gold Top because of its eye-catching finish. It was born. By 1954, this revolutionary instrument hit the market. But here's the kicker. Early reactions were mixed. Traditionalists couldn't wrap their heads around this futuristic design. They clung to their hollow body electrics like they were sacred relics, while progressive blues and rock musicians saw a new tool for creative rebellion. According to sources like Britannica and Guitar World, the Stratocaster, its sibling, may have been cool, but the Les Paul was a complete reinvention, a complete love letter to invention and raw power. In those bustling factories, engineers and craftsmen debated every curve and pickup setting as if plotting a musical revolution. And when the first Les Paul guitars finally emerged, they weren't just instruments. They were declarations of war against the status quo. Leo Fender might have made his mark with the Strat, but here, Les Paul was carving his own legacy with an instrument that was destined to become the heart and soul of rock and roll. Now let's jump into the recording studio, where the Les Paul wasn't content to just be a pretty face. Les Paul was a recording genius who pioneered techniques that are standard today. He experimented with overdubbing, multi-tracking, and even tape delay. Methods that allowed him to layer sounds like a musical architect building an aural skyscraper. These techniques weren't just clever tricks. They fundamentally changed how music was produced. Some of his early recordings, made in collaboration with his longtime partner, Mary Ford, well, they became instant classics. For example, hits like How High the Moon, recorded in 1951, Vaya con Dios from 1953, and Bye Bye Blues circa 1955 weren't just chart toppers. They were sonic experiments that showcased the Les Paul's unique warmth and versatility. Audiences were shocked and delighted by these layered, almost otherworldly sounds. It was like hearing the future of music delivered by an instrument that looked as if it had come straight out of a sci-fi movie. These recordings served as a blueprint for generations to come. Musicians began to realize that the Les Paul wasn't just a tool for live performance, it was a laboratory for sound. Its deep, rich tone and innovative construction allowed artists to push creative boundaries in the studio. It's safe to say that by the mid-1950s, its signature sound was already echoing through the halls of recording studios across America. And when the Les Paul made its television debut, it didn't just appear on screen. It exploded into the public consciousness. Early TV performances featuring the Les Paul showed audiences a guitar that was as much about innovation as it was about raw, unfiltered rock and roll energy. It quickly became a favorite among those who were ready to break free from musical conventions. As the Les Paul soared in popularity, the road for Gibson and the guitar itself was anything but smooth. In the 1960s and 70s, there were tumultuous times, filled with fierce competition, quality control challenges, and ever-shifting consumer tastes. Gibson faced production hiccups, and sales weren't always soaring. There were moments when the Les Paul was almost overshadowed by its competitors, and the company had to fight tooth and nail to keep its legacy alive. But rock and roll is nothing if not resilient. The setbacks of the 1960s and 70s only fueled the Les Paul mythos. In this era of creative explosion, iconic artists like Jimmy Page, Slash, and countless others embraced the Les Paul, turning its thick, crunchy tones into the sounds of rebellion. Think about it. Songs like Led Zeppelin's Whole Lotta Love and countless other classic rock albums feature solos and riffs that are practically carved in stone. Each note a tribute to the power of this revolutionary instrument. The sheer volume of guitars sold during its peak cemented its place not as just a musical instrument, but as a cultural icon. Today, even as modern updates have refined its design with advanced electronics and ergonomic improvements, the classic Les Paul remains the same beast at its core. And let's be honest, you can't slash prices after Slash played his iconic solo on Sweet Child of Mine, a song that is still played in sports arenas to this day. It continues to be the instrument of choice for both vintage collectors and cutting-edge artists alike. In a world where trends come and go, the Les Paul has endured. Its design, rooted in innovation and raw musical power, has weathered the storms of changing tastes and technological advances. It's a testament to the fact that great design never really dies, it just evolves. As long as there are riffs to be played and solos to be shredded, the Les Paul will continue to inspire musicians around the globe. From its revolutionary birth in the early 1950s to its explosive impact on the recording studio and beyond, the Gibson Les Paul isn't just a guitar, it's a living piece of musical history. Every time you see one shining under stage lights or proudly displayed in a collector's case, remember the wild journey it's been on, a journey of radical innovation, fierce battles, and timeless rock and roll spirit. Thank you for joining me on this epic ride through the history of the Les Paul. And in our next episode of Soundwaves Unplugged, we're turning our attention to the electric amp, the unsung hero that powered every unforgettable solo and thunderous chord. Until then, keep rocking, keep questioning, and as always, stay unplugged. All right, we're just gonna go with that. I like the energy on that. We're just gonna go with that.